Hello and welcome everyone to the next Foreman community demo. Your host Ken Gilvin here as always, and it's going to be a slightly shorter show today. I think quite a few folks on holiday recently. I don't know if you know, quite a lot of our team are a lot of the dev community are based out of Israel, and they basically take like the whole of October off. I don't know how they get this. It sounds amazing, but I don't think they take any time off the rest of the year. So fair enough. But it does tend to lead to a bit of a slowdown around this time of year, so it's a little bit shorter, but no less quality content for that. So we're going to crack right along and see what we've got to talk about. So very quickly, 1.13.1 and I forgot to put on 1.12.4 have been released in the last couple of weeks. So if you are on either of those series, do go and get your updates. Lots of good bug fixes, particularly in the 1.13.1 release, since obviously .zeros can be a little bumpy. So go and check that out. For the Otello folks out there, 3.2 RC3 was out recently. I want to say last week, but I don't have the data in front of me to prove it. But that is, I believe, likely to be the last RC. It's looking reasonably good. I think there are a couple of outstanding issues that they're looking at. So hopefully that will be coming your way as a proper release soon. But in the meantime, do test it. Your feedback is always massively valuable. For the rest of today, we'll be talking a bit about Foreman debugging with Lukash. We're going to have some Hammer stuff. We're going to have some content updates from a couple of the Otello guys. And we're going to talk a little bit about things that plugins can change, new things that plugins can change. So that might be quite interesting to any plugin authors out there. Firstly, though, some event news. So last time I talked a bit about PuppetConf. That has obviously happened since then. We had a meetup. 20 people turned up, which was fantastic. Great time was had by all, I believe. I wasn't there, sadly, would have liked to have been. Huge thanks to Ashton Davis and Chris Pisano for their help in organizing it. Both of those guys, Ashton and Chris, are looking to start meetups of their own. So if you're in the South California or sort of Maryland, DMV region, and you're interested in talking Foreman with some like-minded people, there are threads open on the mailing list. Go and register your interest. It would be great to see more of that happening. There are some upcoming events, as I've mentioned in the past, but I'm going to push it hard. We have Config Management Camp Berlin, which is next week, November the 5th, or week after, November the 15th. Tickets still available. Please do go and get involved. There are Foreman talks on the schedule and lots of other good talks as well. So that's looking like being a pretty good day. So if you're in the Berlin area or you don't mind traveling a little bit, check that out. It's going to be good. And then moving into next year, we've got devconf.cz in Brno at the January, and we've got FOSDEM and Config Management Camp Ghent in Belgium after that. Now, the CFPs for these, the call for presentations, is open for all three. I would love to see lots of Foreman talks. Your content of any level is very welcome. I don't just want to see developer stuff here. I want to hear user stories. I want to hear things that people have encountered and figured out how to work around so they can pass that knowledge on to the community. Literally anything is fine as far as I'm concerned. Get your submissions in. I want to see lots. And on top of that, last year we did a Foreman Hack Day, which was done after Config Management Camp Ghent. That had about 20 people. We got quite a lot of interesting things done, kind of broke up into teams, worked a bit on things like translations, on Foreman Ansible, on deployments, all sorts of things. Was pretty highly rated. Everybody who came said they would like to do it again. I put out a poll a little while ago asking exactly this: do we want to do it again? It's been pretty overwhelmingly yes from about 10 to 15 respondents. So it looks like that might happen. I'm just sort of confirming all the details. So again, if you're planning to come to Config Management Camp Ghent and you'd like to kind of get involved with the coding side of Foreman, again, at any level, you want to write plugins, you want to just take your first steps at fixing a few bugs, or you're one of the sort of high-end development team who really want to fix some of the big issues and talk about it in person, that's going to be a good day for that. So watch out for details of that on the mailing list. So new for me, particularly exciting news for me, Shalom E, one of our long-standing devs in the community, has decided to allocate some of his time to helping me out. So I believe he's aiming at about 20%. So he's going to be helping me with some of the tasks that are on my backlog. So hopefully you're going to see more great things from the sort of community side of things since we've got a little bit more manpower available. And that's really good just to have, for me, just to have someone to bounce ideas off. Shlomi, do you want to say anything, or are you going to stay quiet?
No, just a word if I may. So first of all, thanks for the opportunity. And should you need any help or any advice, please ping me online or offline. I'll be happy to assist you. So that's it.
That's great. Thanks, Shalom E. And unlike me, he has a sensible IRC nickname that looks like his actual name, so you can find him pretty easily. Okay, cool. So I'm very, very happy about that. So I'm going to quickly run through the metrics like usual. So package downloads, not massively interesting here. A little bit down on last time, not surprising. Last time was a big .0 release. Everybody wants to try it. Now we're kind of settling back to our kind of normal figures. So this is pretty good. I'm happy to see some nice big numbers for 1.13.1, which is only quite recently out. So that's pretty cool. Plugin metrics are pretty much the same as they always are. The same plugins in the same order, with the one minor exception of Zen now being higher than hooks. It had flipped the other way last time, and now it's back to where it was 2 demos ago. Not very interesting. It seems like everyone likes the same plugins. Redmine is about the same as always. Lots of new bugs opened. I'm really interested that we got 100 feature bugs opened in the last month, which I find really interesting. I don't know what else to say about that. I haven't gone and looked at what those feature bugs are, but it seems pretty high. So it seems like people are interested in. There's no shortage of ideas of where we could take Foreman, which I think is quite interesting. More usefully, the sort of community stats against bugs. I was really excited in the last demo that we basically upped our community sort of support by 33%. It had gone from 25% of the overall total to 33% of the overall total. That's 8% or 1/3 of the previous figure. And what's nice this month is, while it has dropped a little bit, it has remained basically the same. So it wasn't a spike, it wasn't a one-off. Genuinely, the community is starting to support itself more and more, which is really great. GitHub, not too interesting here. Roughly balanced, the same number of PRs in and out. Things are happening, lots of stuff going on. So that was really boring. I just like to show that stuff because I like it and I like you to know that things are happening. But now let's get on to things that are actually interesting. So I'm going to welcome our first speaker. So Lukasz is going to come up first and talk to us about Foreman Tracer, which is a tool he's put together for helping to debug some of the more awkward things. Actually come up on the mail list a couple of times this week, so already getting some use. So Lukasz, if you're ready, I'll hand it over.
Sure, thanks. You should see my terminal right here. And so basically, yeah.
Whoa, I got a black screen right now. I don't know if you just haven't typed anything yet, but.
Completely black, or
yeah, completely black. Oh no, wait, I see your mouse cursor now.
Okay.
Can you just? Oh right. Oh, it's all the way up there. It's just right at the top, and I've got a green banner that's specific to my screen that's hiding your.
Sorry about the font size. I was able to make it bigger enough enough for the center thing.
No, I think you'll get away with that. I think that'll be okay.
Fine. It has a lot of columns, so I made my the best to do the biggest one possible. All right. So basically, what I did last couple of week ago or 2 weeks ago, I was after a bug that has something to do with VMware TFTP orchestration. I couldn't figure out on my system. I was reproducing it and I couldn't trigger the thing. It turned out that I was filling out NIC forms incorrectly, but I couldn't figure out that day. And so I decided, I'm a big fan of SystemTab. I decided to create a SystemTab script and ask the customer to run it. But I don't want to, not everyone is familiar with SystemTab, and I'll explain the basics. So I created a small wrapper script around that. So basically, I want it to be as easy as run a shell script, and immediately you'll see some results, and then send me the output. And I was able actually to find the issue. It was a validation error in our JavaScript code for NICs, network interfaces. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is the script was fine. I was very happy with it. So I've invested more 2 hours in it and created a couple of other things, and I'm showing you today. So basically, SystemTab, it's a scripting language for dynamically instrumenting running production kernel operating systems, Linux operating systems. This is from Wikipedia. And another sentence I'll add is system administrator can use SystemTab to extract, filter, and summarize data enabled to do a diagnosis of performance and functional problems. This is, I think, that these two sentences are great. It explains that system tab is a thing that is inside a Linux kernel. It's in upstream vanilla, or if you like, Linux Torvalds tree. So it's in CentOS, it's in RHEL 4.6.5.6.7. It's in Ubuntu and Debian. I'm not sure which versions are compatible, which are not. I've been testing this on CentOS 7. But anyway, what's great about System Tab is you only need to install some user space utilities. So you can see on my screen that I've been installing System Tab package. This is for this is RHEL 7 or CentOS 7, and some kernel level headers. You also need to have a GCC installed, which can be problematic on production servers, but you can uninstall it once you finish with your tracing. And the biggest thing, the huge thing for me, I think, is that you don't need to restart Foreman. Attach to it and inject your diagnosis data. It actually compiles into a kernel module that is inserted into kernel, and then you're starting tracing. So the using Foreman tracer is easy, and it has two modes. The first mode, it's a shell script. It has this weird, I didn't have time for it to do a proper get opt command line, so it has, I think, 4 parameters and 2 modes. So the first mode is the original, which helped me to find the bug, and it's a tracing. It basically it connects to our passenger running Foreman. So it's doing basically PS grep, and it connects to it, and then it prints out on the standard output all the Ruby calls that are there. It's simple as that. So you can find a Foreman tracer in the description of this video if you're watching this from the recording, and I'll send the link to the development list as well. Foreman tracer has the first parameter tells which process do you want to attach to, and it has 3 options. Rails, so you want to trace the Foreman, the passenger process. Proxy, if you want to trace the proxy process, and the PID, arbitrary PID, if you want to trace other. Maybe you want to we spawn a lot of cron jobs. So you maybe want to attach to a cron job, so you can input an arbitrary number there. And then the mode, the second parameter is mode. So the first one is trace, which I'll be showing in right now. Foreman instance, this is 113. So I'll refresh the host detail page on my second monitor. As you can see, it's dumping all the Ruby methods there and their classes. It's a long list. This one particular, this one has there's actually a bottleneck. I'll point on a little bit later. And once you hit Control-C, I'm adding a tracing ended and the date time just for recording purposes. It's good to see how long it took, how long the user was running the tracer. So obviously you want to redirect this into a file and then compress it. It's compressible pretty much. You only need to know that for the sake of some kind of reasonable size, I'm filtering out. The script is filtering out some very basic things like integer, big num, the very basic Ruby classes. Here's a list. It's ignored classes. It's a very simple script, a couple of pages. So you can see that I'm also filtering out the logging and get text because we have millions of those. But as you can see, few of these are filtered out. You need to know this if you're these methods or methods of these classes, then you might not see them. So this is the first very interesting mode that can help you track bugs. The second is a top-like experience. So basically, we will be refreshing screen every second. So I'm running tracer with Rails again, so I'm attaching to the Rails process, and the calls option is the one that shows you top calls. And now we can see a third parameter, which you can specify all or app. All means that we are tracing all the dependencies of the Foreman project. If you specify only app, we will only see calls that are being made in the user share Foreman or Foreman proxy something .rb, as we can see later. And the last thing, the fourth column is a number of rows you want to see. So basically 25 is default. If you don't provide, it's the default. So now I'm going to refresh the screen again. We will see trace of calls, and it's refreshing every second. You need to know that because systemtab creates some structures in memory, it's usually the script itself. You can see the script itself in the script. It's using here docs to embed the shell script in the bash script. You will see that the script is allocating what's called hash of counters in systemtab. Is some kind of a C-based language, and it has some limitations. We can't, memory is limited. So sometimes, particularly the calls, systemtab script can exit with one, and systemtab will telling you that it's a memory issue or something like that. It can happen. And to prevent that, this also resets all the counters every 5 minutes. So if you go to a lunch or something and forget about this, you don't want systemtab to eat all your memory. So anyway, the tracing is usually 2-3 minutes, as we saw on the list. So as you can see, we have many calls here. So maybe let's focus more. This is I'm going to Control-C that. It's maybe more nicer to see calls of the Ruby sources in user share format. So I provided an app. The third parameter, as you can see, we have filtered out only all the files which starts with user share Foreman or Foreman-proxy. And as you can see, we have a bottleneck here. This is, by the way, the Foreman host detail page, and I've already reported this as a enhancement in our tracker. It looks like config status calculator is doing some bit mask calculations, which are a little bit ineffective. I think it has something to do with graphs. The runtime and resource puppet graph is calling that. See, the output is pretty clear, and this is basically the last column. It shows you a number of calls in each individual method and shows you a line and file name. Okay, we can also track memory, which is very, very interesting. So Rails object total all gives you total counts of memory objects. So a dash total means that it's a total count. So as you can see, we have 22Ks of scalar value. So that means I think that's a JSON or YAML serialization, something like that. So this is the object total. If you want to see individual lines where the objects are created, you can do just objects without dash total. And we'll see in a minute. I'm again refreshing my screen here, and we'll see that we can see the line and file name of the particular line. So again, config report line 88 is perhaps the one that is a little bit problematic here. Foreman trace also have you can also trace arrays, which traces arrays and hashes together. I was lazy to do two separate commands, so I think that doesn't matter. Or you can send a patch. And what's also interesting is strings. So let's see app strings first top 30 string allocations in the app itself, in the Foreman app. So again, it takes 2 or 3 seconds for the system tab to load, compile and the kernel module and load it up. And then you immediately see the results here. So again, this is pretty much it. Again, wrap up. This resets every 5 minutes. It can sometimes fail, particularly the calls is very resource intensive. The object calculations, I haven't encountered the the exit of the system tab script. Anyway, it doesn't hurt the system. The performance can be a little bit lowered, particularly if you're doing tracing the very first tracing I showed you over SSH, because you're then transferring about hundreds of megabytes of data via SSH. I'd recommend you to redirect this and do a live tail on the file name, or do something, or just store it and search it or grab it. And there are two little things I need to mention, and these are passenger workers. Passenger sometimes spawns more workers, and the script is PS and grab the first Ruby process that is passenger Foreman. If you have multiple servers, some workers could handle a load, so you will see just a amount, only the statistics for the worker that is handling the load. If you want to be absolutely sure you see all the counts and you want to see exact numbers, you can also, of course, reconfigure a passenger for the single instance. I will close this terminal and show you the GitHub page of this tracer. It's just a single script with the README. So here we have some, this is the troubleshooting section, and passenger. Here you can see the command you want to do. And this way, in this case, you need to restart HTTPD. And the second thing is that the script is hard-coded with the software collections. So I was testing this only on CentOS 7, RHEL 7, as I didn't have time. But if you want to extend it, and if you want to maybe send a pull request to support Ubuntu Debian, because there is no software collections as far as I know on Ubuntu Debian system. It's a very easy change. As you can see, the script is very, very small.
Lukash,
so that's it.
Lukash, we can actually see your browser, so that's.
Oh,
but
sorry.
Don't worry. If you pass me the URL, I'll make sure that goes into the show notes. We'll get that added to all the various communications that go out at the end of the demo, so that people can go and check that out.
Sure.
That's cool. So I'm just having a look around. I'm not just seeing any questions right now. So that's cool. But if you hang around, obviously there's a little bit of a delay on the stream, so that might come up in a little while. Otherwise,
sure.
That's awesome. I mean, I've just been watching IRC, and the number of people that are just going, "Oh wow, that's super cool," is pretty long actually. So give yourself a pat on the back there, I think. Right. In the meantime. Oh, there we are. He's brought it up now. I've got your GitHub page now, so that seems to have worked properly. So brilliant. Okay, I think we'll get moving. So moving on. Next up is David Davis on Candlepin. Sadly, David can't be with us today, but he has sent us a video which Justin is going to play for us. So we'll see how well this works. I'm happy for anyone watching who might be in a similar situation. I'm happy to try more of this kind of thing and get videos rolling on the demo. If you can't make it live, I can probably find a good way of routing audio and things. But for now, we're just going to do this the kind of rough way. So Justin, you want to give it a go?
Alrighty, can you see my screen?
We can see the screen. Your audio is quite low, though.
Let me try bumping that up. Is that better?
That sounds much better on my end, yes.
As far as the Candlepin 2.0 work,
okay.
To support Candlepin 2.0, one of the tasks that we worked on was refactoring the manifest actions in Otello. Just to bring everybody up to speed, currently the design used a sort of hybrid flow actions in the old orchestration code that's been around for years. Basically, what this does is it uses Dimeflow actions, orchestration code, and that code calls out to Candlepin.
So I'm hearing that needs to go up a little bit further, if you don't mind just bumping up, maybe rewinding about 10-15 seconds.
Sure.
A review of the new design. What we did was we converted the old Glue orchestration code into
rewinding.
And that code called out the Candlepin. To kind of give a review of the new design, what we did was we converted the old Glue orchestration code into Downflow tasks. That is actions for importing, deleting, and refreshing manifests. Now call out to these subtasks, which in turn call out to Candlepin. So basically now our Downflow actions are talking directly to Candlepin instead of going through the old glue orchestration code. Kind of the benefits from this, one of the big reasons was that we wanted to support async manifest imports from Candlepin 2.0. And using the old glue orchestration code didn't allow us to do that. We had to move completely to Downflow. Now the entire process is in Downflow. So if you go to the Downflow console for one of these actions, steps involved in importing a manifest or refreshing a manifest. Instead of just seeing an action that started and complete, you'll see the actual subtasks and the steps involved. Perhaps the biggest benefit, though, is that we got to remove the old glue orchestration code completely from Otello. The manifest actions were the last things that used this orchestration code, and removing that manifest code, we could remove the whole orchestration stuff from Otello. So here's an example. It's kind of hard to read, but the important part is that you can see that we added subtasks here for importing a manifest. Arrows point out the new subtasks. Before you just had a manifest import task that ran until it completed. Now you have 3 subtasks for the manifest import. 2 of these subtasks are new import and import products. The third one, the refresh repository, actually existed in the code already. We already had that action. So we got to leverage some existing code by converting these actions to Downflow, which was pretty handy. Just some stats about the refactor. So we refactored 3 actions, one for import, one for refresh, and one for delete. In doing so, we added 5 new Downflow actions that are being called by these actions as subtasks. Here is that we got to remove almost 700 lines of code. Most of that was the old orchestration code. It probably helped a lot to improve the code quality around the Candlepin code and Otello. And so overall, users probably won't notice this feature at all, but it should help in terms of maintaining and expanding the Candlepin code, especially for the 2.0 stuff that we're working on.
Okay, that's it.
Fantastic. Well, remotely, thank you to David. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I would. He said that users wouldn't see any benefit, but eventually they would see a benefit in that we would be able to utilize asynchronous importing in Candlepin. So if you had a very large manifest, you wouldn't see timeouts, which we occasionally see today.
Okay, that's cool. Well, I don't just see any questions for him at the moment. Although I have just been reminded by Shalom E, who is proving his worth already, that I forgot to tell people, as I usually do, how to ask questions. So I will just remind people that you can hit up the IRC channel, or you can ask stuff in YouTube Live, which I'm also keeping an eye on if you do have any questions. In the meantime, obviously it's going to be difficult for David to answer any questions, so I think we'll move along. So next up is Justin himself, who's also going to talk a bit about content things.
Alrighty, let me shrink my screen a little bit. Previously in Otello, as part of the 3.0, I believe, release, we added support for a feature called Lazy Sync in Pulp. And what this allows you to do was select between 3 different download policies. Immediate being a normal sync where everything gets pulled down immediately. Background meaning where the metadata gets pulled down into Otello and you can work with it normally, and then all of the content is downloaded afterwards, sort of in the background. And then on demand, where all the metadata is synced locally, but the actual content, the RPMs, are not synced or pulled down until they're actually used by a client, whether that be provisioning or updates. And this was set on a per repository basis. So for here, I could set it on this individual repo. This is the name of it. This individual repo on the Otello server. So each repo could have a different download policy. However, capsules, or should I say smart proxies with content, when syncing content, they would just reuse those existing download policies. So if you had a repo that was immediate on the Otello server, it would be immediate on the smart proxy. And whenever you sync the smart proxy, it would sync everything down. But now we actually have the ability to select a download policy for your smart proxy. So you can select the old behavior where it inherits from the repository. So if it's whatever it is on the Otello server, it will be on the smart proxy. But you can also set a specific download policy for a capsule. And really what the main goal of this or benefit of this is that I could select on demand for a smart proxy, and it would be much smaller of a footprint. It would only actually download from the Otello server what it needs, what the clients actually request. So you could have, your smart proxy would really only take up a small amount of disk space, and then over time, as clients actually request packages, it would download those files and increase the amount of disk space used. But it would still be much less than having everything synced. And I'm not going to go through a sync here, but I just wanted to highlight the setting and the 4 options. There is also a setting you can pick. Just like there's a default repository download policy, there's also a default smart proxy download policy. So if you want all of your smart proxies to be a particular policy, then you can pick that. And I believe that is it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Justin. Just going to have a quick look around, but I don't see any questions on that just now. So hang around and we'll see what comes in for you. In the meantime, let's move forward. So next up, Shim's going to take us through some changes for plugins, I think. Shim, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Fantastic.
Let me share my
Over to you then.
screen for a second. Okay, so I'll start with a little story. I was requested to investigate a bug when Otello, when the index page of Foreman host was loaded very slow when Otello was turned on. That came from N+1 queries that were actually used by the index page. So in order to get it under control, I've developed a small enhancement for our controllers. So now you can actually add your own tables into the scope that would be into the scope and query that would be used for the index page. I've created the small section in how to create a plugin, and so you can read about it over there. Basically, in your plugin registration code, you should declare that you want to change a scope for a controller and which action you want to change, and then you actually add a filter for the scope. You will get the scope that is gathered till your declaration, and you can add your statements and you can add your includes, your joins, or even filters if it makes some sense in your case. And we already have a person, thanks Timo, that is actually using it in the monitoring. We can see an example right here. He's adding monitoring results to the index page. This way he can actually show another column in the index page from the monitoring results table, that will be fetched with the main Foreman objects and will not require extra queries. So that's the whole point of it. That's all.
Fantastic. I actually have a couple of questions of my own for once, since this comes pretty close to one of my plugins, right? Is this the death of Foreman column view?
I don't know. Actually, I'm not too familiar with it.
It does. It's exactly what it does. It adds extra columns to the host index.
Okay, you can still use the plugin for the view. I'm not changing the view, but the query is coming from the host controller, which is controlled by Foreman itself. So sure. You couldn't actually influence that query till now. But now you can actually add your tables, and this way you won't get an extra call for your information for each
sure. So
row in your
saves loading. Sure, I get you. Second question for you: that method name, add controller action scope, sounds quite generic. Does it only work on the host controller, or can you use this in other places?
Right now, I have embedded it only in the host controller index, but if somebody wants to actually use that method in other places, I would embed it everywhere.
But it requires changes in the controller, presumably, so yeah.
It requires a small change to the controller. I can show it, but...
That's fine, it's okay. I was just curious about whether people should expect that to work elsewhere. No, that's cool. Okay, I'll just have a quick look, but I don't think there's any further questions for you just now, although obviously we do always have that delay. But in the meantime, I think that's good. Thank you very much. So that brings us to, I think, our final presenter for the afternoon, and that's going to be Tomasz, who's going to tell us a bit about some hammer things. If he unmutes himself, that is.
Yes.
There he is.
I couldn't find the button.
Yeah,
so yeah, I'm going to be quite short today. So lately we've been working on improving a hammer host create help output. The host create page in the UI is the most complex one that we have, and therefore it's quite difficult to translate it to CLI parameters. So we used to have documentation or a guide how to create a host on our GitHub repo of Hammer CLI Foreman. And lately we've been working on moving this stuff to output of host create directly. So this is very fresh thing. It's been merged just hour before the today's demo started. So what's new here? You can see that in the output of host create help, there's still the options and everything, and below that we added the possibility to append a custom output. So we basically one-to-one mirrored the content from the GitHub page to output of help. So you can see that you have some information about additional keys that are available for interface, and some more details for specific types of interfaces, and then information about provider specifics. So I would like to stop here for a moment, because this was designed such as it's extensible from plugins. So in future, if you have a plugin that adds support for a new compute resource, you can extend the help, and it gets added here. So we started with host create, and it's the same for host update. But the changes that we made are generic, and it's not limited just to host commands. So it actually unlocks us to extend helps of other commands if it's needed. So another good candidate could be compute resources, I guess. So if you're interested in that, check the code and the pull request, and you can start extending helps of other commands. One last thing I'm going to show is that it's PTI sensitive. So here you can see that some of the headings are bold, but if I pipe it to less, we detect that and remove all the decorations and stuff. So it's just plain text. That's all from me.
Fantastic, thank you, Tomasz. That's really great. I can't tell you how many times when working with libvirt I've had to go and actually dig about in the GitHub readmes and examples to find exactly how to create the libvirt host correctly. So getting that right there in front of me is a really, really good thing. So thanks to the people involved in that. I don't just see any further questions for you right now. So
I have a question. Sorry.
Oh, go on, Shem, shoot.
Tomasz, can we extend it to actually add some help for facets? Because facets are extending a host basically, so a host model. So I think the facets framework can benefit from the fact that the help can be extended.
I think so. It's extensible pretty much from everywhere. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we haven't designed how facets will be mirrored in the CLI. So once we get to that, we can easily reuse it.
Right now, that's right. We didn't put much of a design into it, but right now facets are just a set of attributes on a host. So basically, you can spill your attributes out, and they should be collected by the CLI by default. But I didn't put much thought into working with the CLI if it requires some special treatment.
Yeah, I think definitely there's potential for reusing in facets. And by the way, I'm sorry, Greg.
No, you go ahead.
One more note. It's designed so that in future we could reuse it to generate content of man pages. So we could hopefully in future generate the content from there and keep it just at one place. That's all.
I just want to clarify one point. Actually, Shim kind of brought this up in my head. When you say it's extensible, we are talking about extensible from within another Hammer plugin, right?
Yes, from within another plugin, but also from the same plugin. Like what you saw there.
Like Discovery, for example, right?
Yeah, sure. You can extend from Discovery.
Sure. The bit that I wanted to clarify in my head was that this is something that definitely is all Hammer side, and it's not like it's pulling things over API Pi or anything like that, right? You can do this with a Foreman plugin.
It's not, but you can reuse it. Like there's one thing that is the help text builder, which builds the texts, and then it's just a matter what you feed it from.
Yeah, sure. It would just be interesting because I can see a situation where you have a plugin which modifies hosts and host creation in some way, but it's not a big enough plugin to warrant having an entirely separate Hammer plugin as well, right? So it's an interesting point. I don't know if it's solvable. I don't know if it's worth solving. It's just something that kind of popped up in my head, but that's cool.
Yeah, I think that could be solvable. We don't have an example of that right now, but this could be solvable, and we have concept of metadata in API Pi, which could help with this. So,
cool. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. Well, I think that brings us to the end. So let's see. We've had a great demo. Very big thank you to all of the presenters for their time and for their contributions to the project. It's great to see things moving along as ever. If you enjoyed today, please do follow us on YouTube and or Twitter. You can also pick us up in Freenode, #theforeman, come and ask questions, particularly if you're watching the recording and you have questions, come find us, come talk to us. We're always happy to hear your questions. In the meantime, thanks again to the presenters, thanks to you for watching, and do take care.